The world of My Hero Academia as we know it is a superhuman society where heroics may be found at the forefront of just about all things, from current events and merchandise to even things such as education. And so with that, we would like to take the time out to better understand each and every one of the professional heroes in the story of My Hero Academia that we currently know of. There are certainly a whole lot of them, and so this list will not be taking into account characters with provisional licenses or heroic ambitions and desires, but rather those literally recognized as professional heroes by their respective governmental bodies. Do be warned, this video will include manga spoilers, and so if that is something that you'd prefer to avoid, I suggest you leave from now. However, if at any point you find yourself interested in picking up some manga volumes for the best prices possible, go on over to RightStuf.com with the affiliate link in the description below. RightStuf has been our go-to place for years now, and by doing so you'll be helping out the channel, so thank you in advance. First up, we have Rumi Usagiyama, the rabbit hero Miruko, and her quirk, Rabbit. In her youth, she would frequently crash fight clubs and was known as a legendary schoolgirl hooligan. This is a character that has always loved the thrill of battle and charges headfirst into a fight, no matter how insurmountable the odds may be. She believes that heroes who join teams are cowards and as such tends to fight by her lonesome, relying on nothing more than her own strength and perseverance. She is easily one of the strongest heroes in Japan and very deserving of her placement as the number 5 hero. Thanks to her quirk, she has rabbit-like abilities such as extremely heightened senses of smell and hearing, as well as speed, agility, and killer kicks. Ryuko Tatsuma, the dragon hero Ryukyu, is the former number 9 hero and current number 10 hero. Her quirk Dragon is a self-explanatory one that allows her to transform into a giant reptilian creature akin to a Western dragon. However, she cannot breathe fire. She's just big, durable, strong, and capable of flight. Essentially gigantification with some additional perks, which is really nice. She is a very humble and well-composed person, and because of just how cool her quirk is, she has been well supported as a hero despite being so young at only 26 years old. She additionally has a soft spot for children and simply adores sparkly things. Ryo Inui, the hunting dog hero, Hound Dog, is a lifestyle guidance counselor at UA High School. He possesses the quirk Dog, which is not to be confused with Gigantomachia's version of the quirk. We haven't seen it in action enough to surmise the full extent of its capabilities, but at the very least it does provide him with an extraordinary sense of smell and is the cause of his heteromorphic canine physique. He speaks very aggressively, growling and such even when he means well, which is a very interesting composure for a guidance counselor to possess. However, the pursuit of this occupation could serve to exemplify the struggles he himself may have once faced, providing a pretty unique perspective. And at that, I would love to see him interact with Bakugo. Cow Lady is an American hero featured in the first My Hero Academia film, My Hero Academia 2 Heroes. Her quirk Cow allows her to transform into a sort of minotaur, thus providing an increase to her strength. Kugo Sakamata, the killer whale hero, Gang Orca, is a former number 10 hero and current number 12 hero. He is a character that tends to take things very seriously. His frightening presence and appearance often make children cry, which is something that troubles him deeply as he actually loves kids a whole lot. Thanks to his quirk, Orsinus, beyond his enhanced speed and strength, Gang Orca is able to produce hypersonic waves capable of paralyzing enemies. However, because of his killer whale-like physique, he is especially susceptible to extreme heat and the like, and so he always has a water bottle with him at all times. The snake hero, Uabami, is arguably more of a celebrity than a hero, but even still, she never forgets her responsibilities as a hero and mostly participates in rescue missions. She's not exactly a powerful combatant, but is undeniably useful when it comes to aiding in the capture of villains, and that is because of her quirk, Serpentress. With it, she has 3 living snakes as part of her hair, whose senses are incredibly keen, which makes uncovering the locations of villains or civilians in danger a lot easier. The sea rescue hero Selkie is a 6'4" humanoid spotted seal man who can either be cute or stern depending on the situation. He is also the captain of the Oki Mariner crew, a group of heroes that specialize in maritime missions and aid the Coast Guard. With his quirk Spotted Seal, both on land and in water, Selkie has enhanced strength and agility. In the water especially, his swimming speed is incredible, and he additionally possesses an echolocation ability that allows him to search across vast distances for various things. Sirius is a truly selfless hero that works on the Oki Mariner crew. With her quirk Good Ear, she is capable of hearing high frequency that most are unable to. Mick is one of Selkie's sidekicks also on the Oki Mariner crew, but besides his name there is not much to discuss there. There's the Fly from the Hero Killer arc, although we don't really know anything about him. Godzillo is a hero originally from Japan that for some reason moved to America, a reference to the most recent Godzilla movie at the time being produced in the States. And at that, he is even voiced by Godzilla. His quirk, Toho, which is a reference to the company that owns the rights to Godzilla and co-produces a number of My Hero Academia works, provides him the attributes of a kaiju, and he can produce nutrients in his own body by way of photosynthesis. Juzo Moashi, also known as Centipeder, was once the sidekick of Sir Night-Eye, but has now become his successor, taking over the agency. His quirk, Centipede, provides him with centipede-like limbs. They are elongated and capable of coiling around targets while sporting venomous pincers. The lion hero Shishido is currently the number 13 hero. Thus far, we have only seen him on a few occasions, and so his quirk is still a mystery to us. However, Shishido was once a main character of Horikoshi's previous work, Omaga Dokizu, which also included characters like Gang Orca, Wash, Uobami, and more. If you'd like to know more about all that, go ahead and check out our My Hero Academia Then and Now video. Takahiro is a hero featured in the first film with the quirk Eagle. Now funny enough, this guy was originally intended to be Hawks, but was ultimately made into another character entirely. Keigo Takami, the wing hero Hawks, was born into an abusive household with a neglectful mother and a villain of a father. His only sense of comfort being the Endeavor doll his mother had gotten him, and they'd only gotten Endeavor because All Might was too expensive. Eventually, Keigo's father was apprehended by the real Endeavor, which inspired the young boy, as this meant heroes were actually real. With his quirk, Fierce Wings, Hawks possesses massive red wings made up of several independently controlled feathers that possess blistering speed and enough strength to lift an average-sized person by their lonesome. With his incredible speed, offensive, and sensory capabilities, Hawks, after saving several people from a deadly car crash as a child, was recruited and trained to be a hero by the Public Safety Commission. From there, he went on to form his own agency at the age of 18, and in the same year, became the youngest hero to ever enter the top 10, the previous holder of this title being Endeavor. 4 years later, he became the number 3 hero, and sometime after that, the number 2. Hawks is one of the most intelligent heroes in Japan and willing to do just about anything to ensure the success of a mission. If you'd like to know more about him in particular, go ahead and check out our Hawks origin video. Big Red Dot is a hero from Singapore. His quirk Tsunami allows him to produce great quantities of water from his mouth. Shino Sosaki, or Mandalay, is a member of the Wild Wild Pussycats, and she pretty much leads them, as especially when it comes to rescue missions, she is really good at giving directions, and apparently she believes herself to have trouble getting close to people. Despite this, her quirk Telepath allows her to communicate with anyone by way of thought. However, this communication is strictly one way. During combat, she tends to speak in a person's mind to throw them off and create an opening for herself. Ryuko Tsuchikawa, or Pixie Bob, is a loud and hyperactive member of the Wild Wild Pussycats. She is the actual founder of the group, as she had devised it all the way back during their school days. She also came up with the cat theme, name, and set up their office space. With her quirk Earthflow, Pixie Bob can control and mold the earth around her into whatever she likes. The range is crazy, and she can break it all apart in an instant. Beyond that, she can create what are known as Earth Beasts, which are earthly golems that fight for her. Yawara Chatora, or Tiger, is the only male member of the Wild Wild Pussycats. He is both incredibly macho and super goofy. His quirk, Playa Body, allows for inhuman levels of flexibility, which is great for entering narrow passages. He can stretch, flatten, and bend in ways that aren't normally possible. Oh, and he is also transgender, having completed his transitional journey in Thailand. Tomoko Shiretoko, or Ragdoll, is the former number 32 hero and the final member of the Wild Wild Pussycats. She is more hyperactive and eccentric than anyone else in the group, and although she wasn't the founder and isn't the leader, she was actually the one to first suggest that the four of them become a hero group together. Her former quirk was Search, an absurdly useful emitter quirk that allowed her to monitor hundreds of people at a time over incredible distances, furthermore providing her information in regards to their location and weak points. not to mention that this information is permanently stored after the fact, a quirk that was stolen from her by All for One unfortunately. Water Hose was a hero group consisting of a husband and a wife who both possess water quirks, one of which being the cousin of Mandalay. However, unfortunately the two would be killed in the field by the villain known as Muscular. Sajin Higawara, the Sand Hero Snatch, was a seasoned hero that felt strongly towards the sentiments of those directly impacted by the villainous escapades of others, such as the families of murder victims. A hero willing to sacrifice himself for the lives of others without a second thought. His quirk was never officially named, but it allows him to transform his upper body into sand at will, then being able to manipulate and shape it into different forms. However, Snatch unfortunately met his end when faced against 3 members of the League of Villains simultaneously. Hokuto Haruo, or Compass Kid, was a middle-aged hero who had a deep love and appreciation towards his wife and children. And something that he wanted before he retired was for his children to think that he is a cool hero. His quirk Pointer allowed him to point in the direction of people, places, and things he was looking for after spinning in place with his arms and legs acting as pointers. However, he unfortunately pointed at the wrong villain and was horrifically blown up to where only his severed hand remained pointing at the fiend. X-Less was a long-range combatant that possessed the quirk Laser, which allowed him to fire energy beams from his right eye. However, he sadly died because he was very much within the range of Shigaraki. Native was a hero targeted by the hero Killer Stain, but was ultimately saved by the likes of Deku, Shoto, and Ida. However, it seems Death refused to let this one out of its grasp, as during the war arc, Native would be one of the many fatalities. The shield hero Crust was a very expressive man who deeply regretted not having been present for the Kamino incident, which led to the retirement of the symbol of peace, All Might. Thanks to his quirk Shield, Crust was able to form rapidly multiplying stone-like hexagonal shields from his body that could vary in size depending on his desire. These shields could furthermore be detached and thrown or used by others. However, these shields were more than simply defensive, as they were incredibly sharp on their sides as well, allowing for incredible offense. Thanks to this, he was able to withstand the assault of several high-end Nomu at once. However, even this valiant hero met his end in the war, as he had sacrificed his very life to ensure the safety of Eraserhead. Mirai Sasaki, or Sir Nai was once the sidekick of the symbol of peace, All Might. He was an extremely business-oriented man and seriously intimidating to most. However, he was also a massive fan of All Might's, going as far as to keep many collectibles and memorabilia. Beyond possessing peak human physicality and a genius-level intellect, Sir Nai-Ai's greatest claim to fame was his quirk, Foresight. With it, Sir Nai-Ai was capable of predicting a person's future moves and actions for a whole hour. However, if activated by touching a target and making eye contact with them, Sir Nai-Ai was furthermore able to observe a target's future from a third-person perspective, almost like a flashback. And these events could be several years ahead at that. However, the exact dates of such events were unknown to Sir Nai-Ai, and so he could only provide rough summations. That being said, the future observed by this quirk of his had only ever been defied a single time. This incredibly capable hero sadly met his end when facing off against the villain Overhaul. Enma Kanagi, the magic hero Majestic, was a promising hero with the potential to make it into the top 10. His quirk Magic was an emitter type that allowed him to create rings of energy from his wrist capable of moving people or objects. However, he was crushed in Gigantomachia's rampage and pronounced dead. Nemuri Kayama, the R-rated hero Midnight, was a UA alumni turned teacher who taught the oddly specific subject of modern hero art history. But back when she was a student, she wore an incredibly revealing costume, one that she was not ashamed to wear, as to her, it was bold yet practical, as it supported her quirk and allowed her to move rather freely. In fact, she believed that this attire of hers would be revolutionary. And in a way, she was right. Her costume actually led to legislation known as the Hero Costume Skin Exposure Limitation Act. Midnight was fun and flirtatious, but serious and an incredible leader with an eye for talent when it was necessary. With her quirk, Somnambulist, she was capable of releasing a sleep-inducing aroma from her skin that was even more effective on men than on women. Fun fact, Midnight was originally planned to be the homeroom teacher of Class 1A. However, because Horikoshi needed someone who could be stern with the kids, he chose Eraserhead instead. But even still, a number of these children were still able to become close to her. And the very same could be said for her friendly rivalry with Mount Lady as a young beauty. However, in her attempt to stop the rampage of Giganto Machia and the League of Villains, which ultimately claimed the lives of thousands, Midnight did in fact have her life taken by some opportunistic villains. Hikage Shinomori was the fourth possessor of One for All. Prior to obtaining the power, his original quirk was Danger Sense. This allowed him to detect threats and allowed for subsequent reactions similar to that of a sixth sense. Because of this quirk, Shinomori preferred to spend his time in seclusion away from others. He was 22 years old when he inherited One for All, but in knowing that he could not reasonably defeat All for One, he put his faith into the future and spent a great deal of time strengthening the quirk through constant training. However, at the age of 40, he began to age rapidly and died soon after, as unbeknownst to him at the time, One for All was simply too powerful to be housed in a human body already in possession of a natural quirk, having exceeded the point of singularity danger. But prior to death, in recognizing this, he passed the quirk on to his successor. Daigoro Banjo, or Lariat, was the fifth user of One for All. A very passionate and spunky man, Lariat's original quirk was Black Whip. This allowed him to create darkened tendrils of energy from any part of his body at will, a quirk greatly empowered by anger that he considered to be top of the line. And was the sixth user of One for All, a reserved young man whose original quirk was Smokescreen. With it, he could produce a thick cloud of smoke from his body, capable of spreading across a large area, obscuring the vision of others. Shimura Nana was the seventh user of One for All, mentor of All Might and grandmother of the villain Shigaraki. This beautiful, kind, and ever selfless hero was a fan of romantics and justice. In fact, it was from her that All Might's ever popular stance on true heroics and a smile originated. She was practically a mother to him, a role towards her birth son that she had relinquished in fear of All for One discovering and threatening his life. What was the most painful decision of her life, and one that she would express regret towards even beyond it. Original quirk was one by the name of Float, which, as the name implies, allowed her to suspend herself in mid-air and float. Sorahiko Torino, or Gran Torino, is a now retired pro hero and former UA homeroom teacher. In his youth, he was incredibly close to Shimura Nana and served as a fellow mentor of All Might's. Despite his now shrunken stature, in his prime, he was around 6'6". As a teacher, Gran Torino was incredibly forceful and demanding, but thanks to this, his mentees would see major results and improvements. The quirk Jet allows Gran Torino to release air from the soles of his feet, thus allowing him to move incredibly fast, dashing from all over. The air used to fuel this jet is his very own breath, and with it, Gran Torino has become one of the fastest pro heroes around, even in retirement. Mr. Brave is a hero with the quirk Hair Razor. With it, he can pull hair from his own head to be extended, grown, and hardened. From there, being able to turn them into weapons and or tools. He greatly fears the potential of a receding hairline, but even still would not hesitate to use every last strand on his head for the sake of protecting others. Yuu Takayama, the Minayama hero, Mount Lady, is the number 23 hero and a member of the Lurkers. Originally being somewhat of a shallow hero during her debut, Mount Lady has since then matured greatly in the field. She established her own hero agency at a young age, and her resolved cases and popularity would continue to rise steadily. However, on account of her quirk gigantification and its ability to increase her size to 67'6", she has a habit of causing destruction herself by accident, making her life not very financially secure. Shinji Nishiya, or Kamui Woods, is the number 7 hero and a member of the Lurkers, and in being invited to join the group by his senior Edshot, he apparently cried tears of joy for 2 hours straight. As it turns out, the backstory of his early childhood is an incredibly compelling one. So much so that he absolutely exploded in popularity when the story was made into a documentary. There are even those who herald him to be the one who will usher in the next generation of heroes. Thanks to his quirk, Arbor, Kamui Woods can generate and control wood from any part of his body, what mostly acts as a binding agent. Shinya Kamihara, the ninja hero Edshot, is a former number 5 and current number 4 hero and leader of the Lurkers. He is one of very few professional heroes whose identity has actually remained a secret because he is just that mysterious. And people absolutely love the guy because who doesn't love ninjas? And I mean, Edgeshot is a ninja through and through. His quirk, Fold-A-Body, is a transformation quirk that allows him to manipulate the thinness of his body and allows him to stretch his limbs. And he is so highly trained in this regard that he can transform faster than the speed of sound. He can pass through doors and even pierce his opponent's organs, all while remaining undetected. By cutting off the blood flow to a person's brain, he can knock them unconscious in an instant. The equipped hero, Yoroy Musha, is a former number 9 hero. Very little is known about this old man, not even his quirk, and this is unlikely to change as following the events of the war arc, he retired from heroics much to the dismay of the general public. The laundry hero Wash is the number 8 hero with a popularity which may be attributed to his marketability as a mascot for clean and shiny commercials. He's usually a very child-friendly hero, speaking like a Pokemon, saying things like "Washashasha," but when the world began to fall apart and civilians clearly weren't very appreciative of that sort of presence, he quickly broke out of character and began to speak in proper sentences. His quirk has not yet been provided an official name, but with it, he can create sizable soap bubbles capable of lifting things elsewhere. Backdraft is a hero that specifically works in coordination with the Musutafu Fire Department. His quirk, Water Pump, allows him to shoot water from the hose spigots he has for hands, and this water can be controlled pretty well as he can create various shapes with it. Kaoruko Awata, or Bubble Girl, was once the sidekick of Sir Night-Eye and still works at his hero agency to this day. Her quirk Bubble is an emitter type that she mostly uses for the sake of blinding distractions, and at that she can either make sweet or foul smelling ones. Fun fact, Bubble Girl's design came from the winner of a fan art contest, and at the time, she was designed to be a UA student. Masaki Mizushima, the normal hero manual, is the number 222 hero based in Hosu City. This guy is the epitome of normal and average. His quirk has yet to be named, but we do know that he can control and create water. The chivalrous hero Fourth Kind is a close quarters combatant who possesses a calm and collected nature that is perfectly suited to come up with basic tactics. His quirk, Quad Arms, provides him an extra set of arms, thus increasing his strength. The battle hero Gunhead has a hero agency that specializes in armed combat to the point where he has his own fighting style of martial arts. He also apparently has a very cute personality. Thanks to his quirk, Gatling, Gunhead possesses gun-like organs on his arms that shoot out claw-like projectiles made of keratin, the very same protein found in hair, horns, claws, and even feathers. But again, Gunhead specializes in hand-to-hand combat, and so this quirk of his is typically used for the sake of warning shots. The Buster hero Airjet is a hero with a signature jetpack support item. The name of his quirk is unknown to us, however he is able to shoot blasts of air. The chivalrous hero Crimson Riot possesses a quirk that allows him to harden his hair. It is his personal philosophy that willpower is more important than a person's quirk, furthermore believing manliness to be a state of mind and determination that is far from gender exclusive and can be found in women just as much as men. Early into his hero career, Crimson Riot recalls an incident where a mere moment's hesitation on his end led to the subsequent deaths of some civilians. This traumatic experience made him value the lives of the innocent above even his own, as he was afraid to see such a thing ever happen again. And interestingly enough, it is that very same fear that gave him a reputation as a fearless hero. Amplifier is a hero present in the first film with the quirk Yell, which allowed her to project her voice across great distances like a human megaphone. Nikang is a Sudanese hero with the quirk Spirit Possession, which allows him to shift his consciousness into spiritual energy, which can then be sent towards a target to possess them. Pancration is a Greek hero with the quirk Power, which provides him incredible physical strength. Clairvoyance is a hero from My Hero Academia Movie 3, World Heroes Mission, with the quirk Clairvoyance, which allows her to see through anything in her view. X was a bumblebee-looking hero with the quirk X-Ray, although we have no idea what the power actually does. Mr. Plastic has the quirk Plastic Transformation, but again we don't know anything about it beyond the name. Takeshita is a former classmate of Gentle Criminal, although we don't know anything about the guy beyond that. Kesagiri Man is a hero that Horikoshi, for some reason or another, decided to elaborate on to the point where we know that his favorite food is fried chicken, yet we have no idea what his quirk is. There is the baseball hero Slugger, but we don't know a thing about the guy. Christopher Skyline, the Playboy hero Captain Celebrity, is America's top-ranked hero. He possesses a great desire for attention and praise and was overly confident. Despite being married, the guy was a major flirt. His birthday is the 4th of July, and his favorite foods are hamburgers and steak. He possesses the quirk known as Flight. This allows Captain Celebrity to both levitate and fly at incredible speeds. It furthermore coats him and who or whatever he's in contact with an aerodynamic barrier that protects against cold, heat, and physical harm. However, the more he coats, the less physically capable these defenses become. Not to mention, he also boasts superhuman strength, capable of lifting an entire cruise ship or even the Tokyo Sky Egg with 50,000 occupants by his lonesome on account of his telekinetic energy boosts. This is one of the most influential heroes we currently know of and is far stronger than the overwhelming majority of Japanese ones, mostly having only been outshined by All Might himself. However, unlike All Might, Captain Celebrity is not opposed to accepting help and assistance, has a wife and child, and a life beyond heroics. Salam is a hero from Egypt with an odd aura about him that puts citizens at ease when they see him fight. However, for some reason, nobody has ever seen his back. Salam possesses the quirk Papyrus, which allows him to turn his body paper thin. Electoplant is an American hero with the quirk Electricity Generation, which allows him to produce and manipulate electricity and even aim their discharges for long-range attacks. Emi Fakukato, the smile hero Miss Joke, is a hero and a teacher of Ketsubutsu Academy's second year, Class 2. She is a super goofy and outgoing character that can be very playful with a teasing nature. Her quirk, Outburst, is an emitter type that forces nearby targets to burst into laughing fits so intense that their motor and cognitive skills are dulled, which she then tends to follow up with a physical assault. Taishiro Totomitsu, the BMI hero, Fat Gum, is a number 58 hero. Having observed All Might in action firsthand back when he was still a rookie, Fat Gum was inspired to eat much more and put on a lot more weight for the sake of empowering his own quirk, which has led to his current figure. The guy is pretty much always hungry and is overall super friendly, but certainly capable of being very serious when the situation calls for it. He possesses the quirk Fat Absorption. He can suck people and objects into his body fat, which envelops them. He is incredibly resilient to physical attacks and can even absorb the kinetic force behind such attacks for the sake of releasing a single supercharged counterattack. However, doing so burns a whole lot of fat, thus lessening his defenses by a considerable degree, making it an all-or-nothing final gambit of sorts. Tenma Nakaoji, or His Purple Highness, is an especially flamboyant hero with exaggerated reactions that takes heroism quite seriously. His quirk, Chest Hair, is an emitter type that not much is known about. However, with quirks manifesting at around age 4 or so, I imagine that was a pretty odd development. Ken Takaji, the Lock hero Rock Lock, is a very straightforward and blunt man that ultimately means very well and has strong feelings towards children being involved in dangerous situations, as he himself has recently become a father. His quirk, Lockdown, allows him to affix objects into a particular point in space, rendering them immobile. And this is done thanks to the key teeth protrusions on his fingers. Tenshi Ida, the turbo hero Ingenium, was an easygoing and helpful hero who continued the heroic line of his family as he wanted to be cool and help those in need. He became an independent hero at a young age with several sidekicks under his mantle thanks to his hero agency, Team Ida 10. He possesses the same quirk as his younger brother Ida, with the exception that the engine-like protrusions he possesses are located in his arms as opposed to his legs. That, and he doesn't seem to possess different gears and instead hits maximum speeds in an instant. However, this does make it difficult for him to hit the brakes and turn while moving this fast, and so he had airbags installed into his hero costume. However, Tenshi would have his hero career ended by the hero killer Stain, who had severely injured him. Big Shot is an overweight member of Team Ida 10, and his design was actually submitted by a fan. Onemu Shinya is a member of Team Ida 10 who we don't know much at all about beyond the fact that she is typically drowsy. And this is another character design submitted by a fan. Enigma is a member of Team Ida 10 whose yet unnamed quirk allows her to increase her body mass, turning into a sort of blob-like form. From here, she can become bigger than a residential building with a rubbery body, which allows her to stretch and contract. This also protects her from incoming attacks. And she can furthermore create smaller clones of this form and use them as drones. Iwao Oguro, formerly known as the high-speed hero O-Clock or Hyper Quad Fist in China, would sometimes fly solo and other times work in tandem with the police. But regardless, he was especially known to have taken down an impressive number of villainous organizations. His quirk O-Clock allowed him to move at extreme speeds to the point where it was as if nothing was moving at all. However, the true virtue of this quirk was the stimulation of one's own brain, speeding up perception and thoughts relative to everything else. He could move at speeds 3 to 10 times faster than normal regularly, dozens of times faster during fight or flight responses, or even so fast that the world seems to be frozen. He could see, hear, and think at hyper speed. However, the heroic career of O-Clock would be concluded when his quirk was stolen by All for One. But even despite this, he would eventually resume crime fighting despite being quirkless. But then instead of being a hero, he became a vigilante. Death Arms was among the very first heroes we had ever seen in the series, boasting a yet unnamed strength enhancement quirk. However, to follow the events of the war arc and the overwhelming criticism of the populace towards Hero, he came to terms with the truth that he was in fact not a hero, but rather just a man and retired. Odd Eye is a hero that adores any and everything related to darkness and has a particular attraction towards the arcane and magical. What is evident from his attire, that of his sidekicks, and even the interior of his agency. His quirk, Involuntary Revelation, makes it so that when he touches someone, they are forced to expose things that they do not want others to know, or embarrassing things about their past that they wish to hide. However, the counter to this quirk is willpower, and so regardless of how shameful a secret may be, if someone has enough willpower, they can avoid divulging any such information. Sensoji, or Mr. Blaster, was once a student of UA's Class 2B. A very arrogant guy who, as a student, believed himself to be the very best while harboring animosity towards those he'd considered weak. His quirk Blast allows him to shoot several blasts of energy from his palms very rapidly that pack a whole lot of stopping power. Tsunagu Hakamata, the fiber hero Best Jeanist, is the former number 4 and current number 3 hero and is actually a UA alumni. He is a flamboyant, brave, and highly respected hero. His quirk Fiber Master is one of the strongest as it allows him to control all types of cloth, while denim is easiest to do this with, whereas sweats are the hardest. And at that, he can even manipulate carbon fibers as well. With it, he has been able to momentarily bind even the likes of All for One and Gigantomachia. Enji Todoroki, the flame hero Endeavor, became the number 2 hero at the incredibly young age of 20 and remained stuck in that position for the next quarter century, having been unable to surpass All Might. Despite this, with All Might's retirement, he did in fact become the number 1 hero. During his hero career, Endeavor had resolved the most cases in the country's history. However, in his obsession with surpassing All Might, all while recognizing his own limitations, he decided to sire a child who could. In arranging a quirk marriage with Rei Himura, who possessed a ice quirk, the two produced a total of 4 children until Endeavor was satisfied with the results, all while being more and more oppressive, obsessive, and abusive towards this family of his. However, to follow the retirement of All Might, his character began to shift towards a genuine care for those he had hurt for so long. Endeavor's quirk Hellflame allows him to make use of extremely powerful pyrokinetic abilities. With it, he has developed a vast array of techniques and super moves, chief among them being Flash Fire, wherein his flames are brought to their maximum heat and intensity for the sake of vaporizing a desired target. Onima is one of Endeavor's many sidekicks, and although we don't know what his quirk is, we do know that it is not actually fire-based. Kido is a sidekick of Endeavor's with the quirk Traject, which allows him to manipulate the trajectory of anything that passes through his bandages. Moe Kamiji, or Burnin, is perhaps the most prominent sidekick of Endeavor's. She possesses a very fiery personality and absolutely loves festivals. Her quirk Blazing Hair allows her to control the flames on her head, and she mostly uses it by grabbing hold of some of her hair, then hurling them like fireballs. And apparently she can use the flames to fly somehow, although we have yet to see as such just yet. Chiyo Shuzenji, the youthful heroin recovery girl, is a nurse at UA and has fulfilled this role for over 4 years now, and so at this point, she is considered to be the backbone of the school. I mean, she is so in the know, in fact, that she is one of the very few people that knew about One for All prior to its exposure. She is a really sweet old lady who loves candy. Her quirk Heal allows her to amplify and speed up the healing process of others by kissing them, making it so that injuries that would take months to heal are instead healed in mere seconds. And this quirk of hers is so rare and valuable that she often visits hospitals in the area to help out, and as such, she has a pretty busy life. Ectoplasm is a math teacher at UA that apparently likes karaoke. In the past, a villain took his legs, and so he now wears a special lightweight combat prosthetic while wearing his costume, and regular ones while in casual wear. His quirk Clones is an emitter type that allows him to release a substance from his mouth, which is then shaped into up to 30 clones of himself at a time, or 36 if he is in a good mood. Sekijiro-kan, the blood hero Vlad King, is the homeroom teacher of Class 1B who especially likes tomatoes and cheese. He also has a dog and is one of the very few people that can understand Hound Dog, having apparently been in the same class together when they went to UA as children. And Vlad also gets along pretty well with his students. His quirk, Blood Control, allows him to manipulate his own blood once it has left his body and produces an excess amount without issue, and he can even harden the blood. Snipe is a hero in charge of UA's third-year students. He's the second best marksman in the country on account of his quirk homing, which allows him to lock onto any target he can see within 600 meters of himself with homing shots, although he cannot decide which part of the target's body his projectiles hit, and so they do not pack much of a punch. Higari Maishima, the excavation hero Power Loader, is a faculty member of UA High School and responsible for the school's costume development studio as a licensed developer. He is even regarded as a prodigy considering he is capable of creating support items by his lonesome. He also has an insecurity regarding his height. His quirk, Iron Claws, causes the end of his fingers to possess metallic claws, which he may then use to burrow underground like a mole. The cook hero Lunch Rush is the head chef of UA's cafeteria. 6 years ago, he had prepared a full-course French meal for 10,000 victims of a typhoon all by himself. Ken Ishiyama, or Cementos, teaches modern literature at UA. His quirk Cement allows him to manipulate cement-based materials while in contact with the surface and can shape it however he wants to, in ways that may either be defensive or offensive. The Space Hero 13 is a hero that specializes in search and rescue operations. Her quirk, Black Hole, allows her to create small black holes from her fingers, sucking in and disintegrating matter at the atomic level, as well as different forms of energy like light. However, because her quirk is so absurdly lethal, she refrains from using it in that way. Not to mention that she runs the risk of even destroying herself with it if she is not especially careful. Since losing her left arm to Shigaraki, this power is now limited to her right hand only. Hizashi Yamada, the voice hero Present Mike, is an English teacher at UA and quite the eccentric loudmouth at that. His favorite food is fried chicken, he loves radio and television, and has a horrible fear of insects. He also has a radio show where he plays non-stop music every Friday night called Put Your Hands Up Radio. And he too once went to UA being in the same class as Eraserhead. His quirk Voice allows him to increase the volume of his voice and create extremely loud and even high-pitched sounds. Fun fact, he was originally intended to be a fat old man that would do school announcements, but Horikoshi figured it would be too boring, and so he went in the complete opposite direction. Aizawa Shota, the erasure hero Eraserhead, is the homeroom teacher of UA's Class 1A, a job he was convinced to take on by his childhood friends, Present Mike and Midnight. And he is very strict with his students because he had lost a classmate and close friend of his in the field when he was younger. He is so strict, in fact, that he actually expelled an entire class before. However, he did actually re-enroll them afterwards, doing so for the sake of scaring them all and making them take heroism seriously. He is a simple man that likes cats, and his quirk Erasure is one of the most useful in the series as it allows him to disable a person's quirk factor so long as he continues looking at them, thus making him a difficult adversary for the vast majority of characters regardless of their own strength. He also uses a unique fighting style which includes binding cloth that took him 6 years to master. But finally, to close out this crazy long list of heroes and what has now taken the record for longest video on the channel, we have Toshinori Yami, the former #1 hero for decades and the world symbol of peace, All Might. Revered to once be the world's greatest hero, Toshinori was actually born quirkless during a time where evil was ever present due to the influence of All for One. Crime was rampant, and so this young man decided to rise to the occasion and bring back hope to the people while driving out evil. As a teenager, he met Shimura Nana and conveyed his ideals to her, that what the world needed was a symbol of peace to usher in a new age, and he believed that he could do just this, despite being powerless in this superhuman society. And with such strong conviction, Shimura Nana believed in him and eventually passed the quirk, One for All, down to him, making him the 8th user of the power. And with it, he entered UA High School with Gran Torino as his homeroom teacher and was actually strong enough to make full use of the quirk at 100% from the very beginning. After losing his master to All for One and graduating from UA, All Might fled to America, and when he returned, he did just as he had promised his late master and was able to bring the crime rate down to below 6% and become the symbol of peace. And eventually, he would become the first user of the power to defeat All for One, but in the process suffered irreparable damage, thus making his search for a successor an ever important one, as All for One would certainly rise again to claim the power. But there you have it, guys. This is every professional hero in My Hero Academia. We really hope you enjoyed the video and can appreciate just how long it took to put this all together for you. So if you have not already, be sure to subscribe to Plot Armor with notifications on. A lot of information present in this video comes from various points in the My Hero Academia, Vigilantes, and even team-up mangas. So if you'd like to pick up some volumes for yourself at the best price possible, go ahead and use our RightStuf affiliate link in the description below. Because when it comes to bringing you some of the best My Hero Academia content on the platform, Plot Armor has you covered. As always, I am Slice of Otaku. Thank you all so much for watching and have an awesome day. I love you.